Hello, my friend. Are you ready to win at the Kentucky Derby this year like I do usually every year? And I'll tell you how I do it. I don't use these huge 50-page programs. I simply use a 2-page form. It has better info. It's easy to use and understand. It takes minutes to handicap each race, and I clean up almost every year. I use the grid. Now, the Derby grid in particular is a very expanded form of the grid, and I'll show you an example of that right now. I know what you're thinking. TMI. Well, it may be for some people. It may make your head explode. We're going to sum it up for you real quick here, though. This is a lot of information, more information than you'll find anywhere else, including the other copycats like Super Scammer. First of all, what we have to look at is weather.com has called for a 70% chance of rain on Saturday, which means we need to know who the best mudder is, which is why we include the wet track rating from DRF in the grid. These are the top horses in the wet track rating. Of course, that's just a potential, saying this is what their pedigree says they could do running on the mud. Now, only 3 of them have experience. You can see it worked for Revolutionary and for Falling Sky, but Will Take Charge struggled mightily on a sloppy sealed track, losing by 18. So it's not exactly accurate all the time, but it's a good indicator of how they might run on the mud. So we need to take these horses into consideration if the track does become muddy. Next thing we need to do is look at history, which is of course what the grid is based on. It's based on historical factors. Only 2 of the last 16 Kentucky Derby champs did not finish in the top 2 in their final prep. 8 winners, 6 runners up. The 2 that weren't first or second finished 4th, so they still, were kind of in the money there. And only 4 of those 16 were not from a Big 5 Grade 1 final prep listed there. 10 of 16, over 50% were from the Rand sire line, and 66% going back to 1995. Okay, and that's based on about 20-25% of the runners. None of them were from the Stormcat or AP Indy sire lines during that time frame. Okay, which combined accounts for probably about 40% or so of the runners every year. Okay, so there's more than just a curse. It's statistical analysis. It's statistical truth. Now, we look at these major preps we were talking about. I know this again, TMI, you can't even see all this stuff right here. That's why I'm going to post this presentation so you can blow it up and look at it, at your leisure later. But you can see that the wood has really fallen kind of a little bit out of relevance the last 10 years. But I think that might change this year since Normandy Invasion is the top lay runner in the field, which is a factor that's in the grid. And the rest of them, the rest of the Big 5 obviously have some relevance, and I added the Louisiana Derby for recent years because it seems to have more relevance, especially this year, as I'm going to point to. Okay, so who are these final prep 1 and 2 runners? Well, they're listed right here. You see the Big 5 winners: Orb, Golden Sense, Verrazano, Java's War, and Overanalyze, and also included Revolutionary and Mylute from Louisiana, because I think that's a strong pair. And then Will Take Charge from the Rebel. That was his last prep. He did finish first, even though it's kind of a minor prep. Lucas said he didn't want to race him again because he was trying to build muscle on a frame that was increasing rapidly. It's a 17-hand horse. It's one of the hugest in the field. I kind of like this horse as a sleeper. And then Lines of Battle from the UAE and Black Onyx. His last race was a Spiral, which he won. Again, the grid is a lot of information, so let's sum it up for you here. The top criterial qualifiers, you can see them there on the left. The top performance qualifiers, you can see them there on the right, based on performance figures. What I did was underline the ones that appear in both columns, and those are your key horses. You want to use those in your exotics. You want to figure out a way to use those in your exotics, no matter who your favorite horse is. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. It's very similar to last year, which worked out well. I got my winning contenders that aren't cursed at the top, that have the top criteria qualifications: Revolutionary, Java's War, and Overanalyze. And then I'm going to add in those Raised Native horses because they win like 50-60% of the Kentucky Derbies. That's Palace, Malice, Mylute, and Will Take Charge. I'm probably going to wheel all those at the top and box them. And if you did that last year to my recommendation, then you ended up with a winning exacta, trifecta, and superfecta box. Okay. On the second tier there, we do have criterial qualifiers, but again, they're cursed by AP Indy and Stormcat sire lines, so that's why they're the second tier. and then some other possibles to finish in your, trifecta or superfecta down below there. But you really want to key those winning contenders at the top, and you really want to bet the ones that have good odds heavily. That's my top recommendation for you. Okay, all this stuff will be online. I'll post all these charts. You'll be able to see all the information. If you want to get the complete Derby grid, you have to go to this URL right here, derbygrid.htm. So we'll see you on the other side. Good luck in the Oaks and Derby this weekend.